Everybody loves potential. We love the idea of what someone could be, what a dream might become, or what our life should look like one day. But potential doesn't build anything. Potential is just a promise. Consistency is the proof, and until you choose consistency over potential, you will stay stuck in the same cycle of wishing, hoping, and waiting for change instead of creating it. Potential is flashy. It's exciting. It gives you a rush because it shows you the possibility of a better future. But consistency is quiet, steady, sometimes even boring. Potential makes you dream. Consistency makes you grow. Potential whispers you could be great. A consistency says show up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Here's the truth. Your life will not change because of what you can do. It will change because of what you do repeatedly. Every successful person you admire didn't win because they were the most talented. Most of the time they weren't. They won because they kept showing up when others quit. They kept practicing, kept learning, kept moving, kept failing, kept trying again. That's the power of consistency. Potential is like having seeds in your hand. You can talk about those seeds all day, what they could grow into, how big they might become, how beautiful the results could be. But nothing grows until you plant them, and nothing survives unless you water them over and over again. That's consistency. Want a better body? It's not potential. It's consistencies. More workouts, better choices every day. Want a better relationship? It's consistency. Communicating, understanding, showing up every day. Want a better life? It's consistency. Discipline, habits, routines every day. Sometimes we wait for motivation to kick in, thinking that once we feel inspired, then we'll start. But that's backward. Motivation doesn't create consistency. Consistency creates motivation. When you start showing up, even in small ways, you build trust with yourself. You prove to your mind that you're serious. And once your mind sees your actions, the motivation starts flowing. But as long as you're stuck in potential, dreaming but not doing, you stay in the same place. You keep saying one day, soon, when things settle down. Meanwhile, time passes, opportunities fade, and regrets grow. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about repetition. It's about choosing progress over excuses. It's about being reliable even when the mood changes. It's about doing a little today, a little tomorrow, and a little the next day until those littles become something big. So today, choose consistency. Choose the routine. Choose the discipline. Choose the small steps. Your potential is a gift, but consistency is how you honor it. And when you stay consistent long enough, potential turns into progress. Progress turns into results, and results turn into a life you're proud of. Choose consistency, not potential, because consistency is what builds the future you dream about. If there is one key that unlocks every door to growth, success, and transformation, it is this: show up every single day. Not when you feel motivated, not only when life feels easy, not when everything is aligned perfectly, but every day, regardless of your mood, your circumstances, or your excuses. That is the true heart of consistency. Showing up when your feelings tell you not to, when your environment challenges you, and when your past whispers that you can't. See, the biggest mistake people make is believing that success comes from big moments. Massive action, one-time breakthroughs, sudden waves of inspiration. But that is not how real progress works. Real growth is built quietly in the shadows through repetition. The person who commits to small, consistent effort will outrun the person with big dreams but no discipline every time. Showing up every day teaches you responsibility. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you resilience. It forces you to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start using the moment you have. When you show up daily, You send a message to your mind that you are serious about your future. You are not playing with potential. You are building something real. Think of showing up like building muscle. One workout won't change anything. 10 workouts might start something. But showing up day after day, when you're tired, when you're unmotivated, when you're busy, that's what transforms your body. Life works the same way. Every small action compounds. Every day you show up, you add one more layer of strength, one more brick to the foundation of your dreams. But consistency requires honesty. You must admit to yourself that potential alone is not enough. Potential is comfort. It allows you to dream without doing. Showing up requires courage because it demands effort. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you stop hiding behind the idea of what you could be and start working toward what you're willing to become. Showing up every day doesn't mean doing the most. It means doing something. Some days you'll do a lot. Some days you'll do a little. But the key is that you do not break the chain. You keep the promise you made to yourself. That is how trust is built within your own mind. And here's the beautiful part. Once you learn to show up consistently, life becomes easier. Not because the work gets easier, but because you get stronger. You develop habits. You build discipline. You create systems. Eventually, the things that felt heavy start feeling lighter, simply because you learn to carry them daily. Showing up every day separates champions from dreamers. It separates progress from potential. It separates who you were from who you are becoming. When you show up, you honor your goals, your growth, and your future. So make this key non-negotiable. Show up every single day. That's how you turn potential into power. That's how you turn dreams into results. And that's how you become unstoppable. If consistency is the engine, then discipline is the fuel that keeps it running. Discipline means you do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. And this is where most people fall short. They let their feelings lead their actions. They allow mood, emotion, and comfort to decide their progress. But the truth is simple and uncompromising. Your feelings cannot build your future, but your discipline can. Every great achievement in life demands discipline. Discipline is choosing to act based on commitment rather than emotion. Emotions change, sometimes hourly, but discipline stays steady. You may not feel motivated every day, but discipline allows you to keep going anyway. It doesn't rely on inspiration. It relies on decision. Think about it. You don't always feel like waking up early. You don't always feel like working out. You don't always feel like pursuing that dream, studying, improving, learning. But if you only move when you feel good, you'll never move far. Discipline forces you to rise above your excuses. It teaches you to control your impulses, your distractions, and your comfort zone. Discipline separates people who talk about change from people who actually create change. Most people love potential because it requires nothing from them. It feels good to imagine the future, but discipline demands action. It demands sacrifice. It demands you show up with intention, even when your mind tries to convince you otherwise. And here's the thing. Discipline doesn't start big, it starts small, waking up 10 minutes earlier, doing a little extra when no one is watching, keeping your word to yourself, finishing what you start. Every time you choose discipline over feelings, you strengthen your character. You build self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are in control, not your moods, not your comfort, not your laziness. And once discipline becomes part of you, life changes. You don't chase motivation anymore. You generate it. You don't wait for the right moment. You create it. You don't need someone to push you. You push yourself. Potential gives you hope. Discipline gives you results. Potential shows you the dream. Discipline builds the dream. Potential is the idea. Discipline is the execution. So the second key is simple yet life-changing. Let discipline lead, not your feelings. When you choose discipline every day, you step into a version of yourself that is focused, committed, and unstoppable. One of the biggest reasons people never reach their goals is because they underestimate the power of small steps. They want fast results, instant success, big breakthroughs. They want to see change immediately. But the truth is, major transformation is built from tiny, repeated actions that compound over time. Big results don't come from one massive effort. They come from hundreds of small, consistent ones. Every big success story you've ever heard started small. Nobody begins at the top. Nobody becomes great overnight. What separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is their ability to appreciate and commit to small, steady progress. See, the problem with potential is that it makes you dream too big too fast. It shows you the finish line but skips the steps. Consistency teaches you to value the journey by focusing on the next small step, not the entire mountain. If you want to change your life, you don't need to overhaul everything in one day. You only need to start with something small, something you can repeat daily without burning out. Small steps create momentum. Momentum becomes progress. Progress becomes confidence, and confidence becomes unstoppable growth. Think about water drops. One drop is nothing, but continuous drops can carve rock. Think about savings. $1 won't change your life, but saved every day it becomes wealth. Think about habits. One choice won't define you, but repeated choices shape your entire identity. Small steps protect you from feeling overwhelmed. They remind you that progress is possible even when life is chaotic. Small steps keep you grounded, focused, and moving forward when your mind tries to convince you to quit. The beauty of small steps is that they're doable. You can commit to them daily. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need special motivation. You don't need enormous energy. You just need to begin and keep going. And here's what most people don't realize. Small steps compound in silence, but their results explode loudly. People won't notice the little things you're doing now, but they will notice when everything begins to pay off. They'll call you lucky, but they won't see the countless small steps that built your success. Small steps train your discipline. They sharpen your character. They build your identity as someone who follows through. And that identity is what ultimately changes your life. So key 3 is simple but powerful. Respect the small steps. Because small steps repeated with consistency become big results. Small efforts repeated with discipline create big breakthroughs. Small actions done daily build the future you dream about. Never underestimate what a little progress every day can do for your life. It's not the size of the step that matters. It's the consistency of taking it. If you want consistency to become a lifestyle instead of a struggle, you must understand this key. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your life. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they rely only on motivation instead of building habits that carry them forward. Habits are the automatic behaviors you repeat without thinking. And when you build the right habits, you no longer have to force yourself to stay consistent. Your routines start doing the work for you. That's why creating habits is one of the most powerful anchors for long-term success. Most people look at potential and think that potential alone will transform them. But potential doesn't matter if your habits don't match the person you want to become. You can dream big, but if your daily habits stay small, your results will stay small too. Consistency becomes easier when your habits are aligned with your goals. Habits work because they shift your identity. If you read daily, you start calling yourself a reader. If you work out daily, you start seeing yourself as someone who values health. If you show up for your goals daily, you start believing you are the type of person who follows through. Identity is powerful because you always act like the person you believe you are. When your habits shape a better identity, your actions naturally follow. Creating powerful habits doesn't require perfection. It requires simplicity. Start small. Define habits that are easy enough that you can do them even on your worst days. Consistency is not about doing big things. It's about doing the right things repeatedly. Habits also remove decision fatigue. When something becomes a habit, you no longer debate whether to do it. You just do it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't rely on willpower. You simply act because the habit is part of who you are. For example, if your habit is to write 10 minutes every morning, you don't think about whether you feel like writing. You just write. If your habit is a daily walk, you don't debate. You just move. If your habit is reviewing your goals every night, you don't delay. You just follow through. This is how consistency becomes natural, not forced. But the true power of habits is found in their compounding effect. A single habit may seem small, but over weeks, months, and years, it transforms everything. Your mindset, your confidence, your lifestyle, and your results. Successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. Habits that push them forward automatically. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with consistency is because they are obsessed with the outcome but disconnected from the process. They want the success, the transformation, the reward, but they don't want the daily work required to reach it. They fall in love with the idea of the result instead of the journey that produces it. But true growth only happens when you commit to the process, not just the finish line. Outcomes take time. Results take patience. Breakthroughs take perseverance. When you focus only on the end goal, every slow day feels like failure, and every setback feels like a sign to quit. But when you commit to the process, you learn to appreciate progress in all forms. Small wins, tiny improvements, quiet steps forward. The process strengthens you. The process teaches you discipline. The process builds your character. The process shapes your mindset. And if you stay committed long enough, the process eventually delivers the outcome you dreamed about, often better than you imagined. See, potential feeds on fantasy, but consistency thrives through commitment. The process is where the real work happens. It's where you build habits, develop skills, and grow into the person capable of achieving big results. You can't skip the struggle and still expect the success. Think of any champion in any field. They didn't rise because they were dreaming about trophies all day. They rose because they were committed to early mornings, daily practice, failures, corrections, and continuous improvement. They embraced the grind, not just the glory. When you commit to the process, you stop waiting for perfect moments. You stop searching for shortcuts. You stop comparing your journey to others. Instead, you focus on what you can control: your effort, your actions, your consistency. Committing to the process also makes you resilient. You learn how to keep going when progress is slow. You learn to push through days when nothing seems to be working. You learn to stay steady when distractions, doubt, or discouragement show up. Because you understand that as long as you stay committed, progress is happening, even if it's not visible yet. The process builds trust. You begin to trust yourself because you see yourself showing up day after day. And nothing is more powerful than trusting your own discipline. One of the hardest parts of staying consistent is learning how to remain focused when life gets noisy, when distractions, challenges, responsibilities, and emotions start pulling you in different directions. Consistency is easy when everything is calm. But real consistency is proven when everything around you is chaotic and you still choose to stay locked in. Life will always get loud. People will need you. Problems will show up. Emotions will rise. Unexpected events will happen. And in those moments, potential won't save you. Only focus and discipline will. This is why the ability to protect your focus is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Most people lose consistency not because they are incapable, but because they are distracted. They get pulled into things that don't matter. They react to everything around them. They let the noise of life dictate their actions. And every time they get distracted, they lose momentum, lose clarity, and lose their direction. But when you learn to control your focus, you learn to control your life. Staying focused doesn't mean ignoring everything else. It means prioritizing what matters most. It means learning how to say no more often. It means setting boundaries with your time, your energy, and your attention. It means deciding that your goals are not optional and that your growth deserves priority. Focus is your filter. It keeps you from wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. Focus is your anchor. It keeps you grounded when life tries to pull you off course. Focus is your protector. It shields your goals from distractions disguised as opportunities. To stay focused, you need clarity. You have to know what you are building, why it matters, and what actions take you toward it every day. Clarity eliminates confusion. It eliminates hesitation. It eliminates wasted time. When you are clear on your direction, you become harder to distract. You also need routines. Routines protect focus. They create structure. They keep you consistent even when life is unpredictable. A solid routine becomes your safe zone, a place where you can return to, no matter what's happening around you. And most importantly, staying focused requires emotional control. You cannot let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Feelings will try to distract you. Fear will try to distract you. Doubt will try to distract you. Stress will try to distract you. But consistency requires you to stay centered. Even when your emotions try to throw you off track, the final and most powerful key to choosing consistency over potential is this. Become the type of person who simply doesn't quit. Not when it's hard, not when it's slow, not when it's uncomfortable, not when life tests you. Consistency isn't about never struggling. It's about refusing to stop. Most people quit not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance. They stop at the first sign of resistance. They stop when progress is slow. They stop when motivation fades. They stop when the results don't come as fast as they imagined. And every time they quit, they reset their progress back to zero. But the person who becomes unstoppable is the person who decides, I'm not quitting, no matter how long it takes. See, consistency and quitting cannot exist together. When you quit, you break momentum. You break discipline. You break trust with yourself. But when you refuse to quit, you build mental strength that no one can take from you. Being someone who doesn't quit means you embrace discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. Change requires discomfort. Success demands that you do things that aren't easy. But every time you push through discomfort, you grow stronger. You become more capable. You become someone who can handle what you're asking for. It also means you adjust, but you don't abandon. You can rest, but you don't stop. You can slow down, but you don't give up. You can rethink your strategy, but you don't walk away from your purpose. Quitting is the only thing that guarantees failure. Everything else still leaves room for success. The truth is, life will test your consistency. You will face days where you feel discouraged, days where nothing goes right, days where your progress feels invisible, days where doubt whispers, this isn't worth it. But those days are not signs to quit. They are the very moments that build the strongest version of you. When you become the person who doesn't quit, you separate yourself from the crowd. Anyone can start, but only a few keep going. Only a few push past frustration. Only a few stay committed when results are slow. And those few become the ones who actually achieve what everyone else only dreamed about. Refusing to quit also builds your identity. You start to see yourself as strong, capable, and disciplined. And once you see yourself that way, you naturally behave that way. Your consistency becomes a part of who you are, not something you force, but something you live. As we wrap up, let me leave you with this truth. Potential alone will never build the life you dream about. Potential is nice, it's exciting, it teases you with the possibilities of what could be, but potential is invisible until you act. It doesn't create results, it doesn't build character, and it certainly doesn't carry you forward when life gets tough. Only consistency can do that. Consistency is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It is the daily commitment to showing up, doing the work, and trusting the process, even when it's hard, even when you feel like quitting, even when no one is watching. Think about all the people you admire. The champions, the leaders, the innovators, the game changers. They didn't get there because they had more potential than anyone else. They got there because they were consistent. They kept showing up when others stopped. They kept learning when others gave up. They kept taking small, steady steps while everyone else waited for the perfect opportunity. That is the secret. Consistency is silent, patient, and sometimes boring, but it is unstoppable. It compounds over time. Every little action adds up until one day the results speak louder than any promise or potential ever could. Consistency also teaches you a deeper lesson about life, that the journey is more important than the destination. When you commit to consistency, you stop chasing quick fixes or shortcuts. You stop looking for motivation every day because your habits, discipline, and routines carry you forward automatically. You become someone who is reliable, focused, and capable of achieving long-term results. And in the process, you become a person you can trust, someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises, someone who refuses to quit. That trust in yourself is priceless. Choosing consistency over potential also protects you from disappointment. If you rely on potential, your own or someone else's, you are constantly at the mercy of hope and imagination. You are waiting for someday to happen. But when you rely on consistency, you are in control. You take responsibility for your growth and your success. You know that each day you show up, you are moving forward, no matter how small the progress. And over time, those small steps become unstoppable momentum that propels you beyond what you ever imagined possible. So here is the challenge for you. Stop worshipping potential and start honoring consistency. Don't focus on what could happen if everything aligned perfectly. Focus on what you can do today, right now, with what you have. Show up, take the small steps, stick to your habits, protect your focus, commit to the process, refuse to quit. Make every day count because every action compounds into your future. Remember, potential is what you are capable of. Consistency is what you actually accomplish, and it is consistency that separates dreamers from achievers, talkers from doers, and wishers from winners. Your potential is a gift, but consistency is the discipline that turns that gift into reality. So start today, show up, be disciplined, take small steps, protect your focus, build habits, commit to the process, and refuse to quit. Do this every day, and I promise you, your life will change. Your dreams will no longer be distant ideas. They will become real. Because when you choose consistency over potential, you choose action over excuses, results over hope, and transformation over wishful thinking. Consistency is the key. Potential is only the spark, but consistency is the fire that changes everything.